Okay, excellent. We're now live. Hi, everybody. I welcome you all. I'm Samrat Kishore. I welcome you all to the Baseline Show. This is our monthly General Assembly for November 2022, and we are all very excited about the announcements and yeah, the proceedings of today's show. So, without further delay, I would like to welcome you all who are here in the live audience. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us. We are all now very regulars to the show. So thank you once again. Of course, we have Sonal, we have Keith, Yoav, Claudia from Oasis, we have Mark Adel, we have Andreas, and we have Mark Rimsa. We are also live streaming on YouTube, so people are watching us live as well as people will be watching us in future. So let me start with thanking you all who've been supporting us, supporting the Baseline community in general. To get involved, join our Slack. That's the most active channel that we see. Also, the official channel where you could interact with the leaders of Baseline and ask questions, get help, and much more. So that's on joining the community, getting involved. We also keep posting these videos via our YouTube channel, so do subscribe. You will get alerts when we post something. So do hit the bell icon. We also have our official Twitter and LinkedIn handles. That's extremely important. Do follow them. We, as I said, we keep posting updates about the work happening, about these shows, and yeah, about everything Baseline. So let's kick this off with let me invite. So like just like every other General Assembly, we do cover outreach initiatives, we cover special announcements, we cover what's going on with the core devs. So let me invite Mark. Mark, would you like to take it away for the outreach?
Rimsa or Haddle?
Oh, Adel.
Good. Well, basically wrapping up in a year of on the outreach team that saw the creation of a lot of content, really, as far as fine tuning the messaging out there to any audience. Really, what we're doing is starting off with a kind of an agnostic, high level view of what Baseline is, what it isn't, and how it actually functions in comparison to other competing or alternative technologies out there, as far as really tying together the collaboration aspect in a multi-party process environment. So we put together a very long slide deck of content that we can use as a repository at any type of conference or any presentation that we want to do, which is made available to the community at large. If you're maybe giving maybe a cocktail hour speech or something like that, and you need some visuals, definitely this is available for you. We went ahead and presented this year at FinTech DevCon and also at All Things Open. Well, we had a presence at All Things Open, and that was most recent, and it was here in my backyard in Raleigh. And also got a chance to spend some time with John Wolpert, who is also local to Raleigh as well. So alive and well, and is working on a book that really will ring true with a lot of the things that we're used to seeing, as far as trying to get a brand new framework off the ground and developed. So that's really what we've got. Looking forward for the next year, we of course have different projects that we're working on that are going to showcase the capabilities of Baseline, and also the venue, how we want to go ahead and really kind of get the message out there. So that's what we have. It's like watch the space. So.
And I will also add some outreach updates. I think we have a few blogs in progress, like the Baseline calendar blog from our grant recipient Vaibhav is working on packaging together his work, just so we have a one-stop shop for referencing people to all the materials he created, and he can also explain the value provided, etc. Mark Rimsa is working on a press release for the simple reference implementation work, which we will aim to publish in early 2023. That kind of has like a product manager focus on the work, something that would be understandable to a few different personas. and also links to the very technical documentation. And then also I'm working on a blog on the grant funds from this year, about the value provided, as well as some metrics on the types of projects that went to, how many developers were involved, etc. That will be used in the readout we provide to the Ethereum Foundation and Mesh for hopefully more grant funds, as well as for any other companies or groups out there that are considering making a donation to future grant work. So yeah, I think we're going to try to wrap up some blogs as we near the end of this year and start up next year. And then our outreach team will have some retros in early 2023 for how we should prioritize and create some roadmap items for outreach efforts. And I'll also then, yes, I will hand over to Mark Rimza to give an update on the research work group, also known as the BLIP1 work group.
Yeah, there's going to be a strong end of the year, right? From the messaging perspective, kudos to that. Kudos to everybody involved. I'm really looking forward to that. Just go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so the update for the BLIP1 effort is we had a great conversation about the SSI layer that we would be using for demo purposes in BLIP1. I would encourage anybody who's interested in how that stuff works to look back at the recording to see how the discussion went, but we settled on only using DIDs, assuming that the trusted identity setup has been taken care of. And because of that, we've moved on past the SSI layer, and for the next meeting, we're going to start talking about the advancement predicates to move through the use case that has already been outlined that is available for people to look at. So please join the next BLIP1 meeting if you're curious or interested in seeing what we're doing or helping and contributing in any way.
Excellent. And you know, as I keep inviting people, I keep saying that people from all walks of life are important here in Baseline. So even if you're good at technical writing, you know, do join us. We need people with all skills. Thank you so much, Mark, for that update. That's pretty amazing. There's one more outreach bit which I would like to add. So one is I'm representing Baseline Protocol as part of a grant at ETH Vietnam, which is next week, and yeah, that's going to be, and that's turning out to be pretty amazing set of, you know, both speakers and attendees. They've got almost 100 hackathon teams, I've been told. So let's see if we find a good set of, you know, new devs to add to the team, or at least recognition for Baseline. And yeah, a lot of VC interest I'm seeing there. Amazon is participating, by the way. Just today they sent out a message. So yeah, it's going to be fun, and I will come back and report. So you know, on the following show, maybe I'll talk about a debrief of what went on and how it was. After that, I'm going to be at ETH India in Bangalore. That's happening in the first week of December, and I will be, of course, talking about EA and Baseline in sort of conjunction. There's a members only event being organized by the EA, so potentially, yeah, and you know, there are some sponsors which have come forward to support that work. So yeah, it's being planned, and I will give an update about that as well in the next show. So a lot of outreach work happening, and I hope that this bears fruit and we get more and more supporters for Baseline. Thank you all who are working in that direction. Next we have on sponsorships. We don't have Carol. Does anybody have any updates on sponsorships? You know, if there are no updates, then I would definitely like to take this slot and say, do look out for one of us reaching out to you if you're a company watching us and would like to participate in the research which we had proposed via IDC report. So yeah, you know, the collaboration opportunity is still open. You could come in and become one of the co-sponsors of the work being done.
Yes, and I would add it. Don't wait for us to reach out to you. Also reach out to us.
Totally. Okay, so that's on sponsorships. / inviting more sponsors on the report. That to me is a big key to opening up, to unlocking the opportunity for a lot of companies actually towards adoption. Let me now invite one of you, Yoav or Keith, if you'd like to come up and give an update of for the core devs. You could also use the time to finish the walkthrough from last week. Stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Samrat. So let's start with kind of the highest level updates, which are one that milestone 2 in the SRI BRI 3 grant is completed. And that, like Samrat just mentioned in last week's show, the baseline show, we had kind of a full feature SRI BRI 3 walkthrough where we answered some questions and kind of ran through the architecture and decision making. And yeah, if you have not watched that, it is available on YouTube, and it is definitely worth it if you're interested in catching up. To dive into more details for the GA here, I'm going to start off by sharing my screen. Just kidding. Samrat, if you could give me co-host, please. But I'll share my screen and we can go through some of the closed PRs that have kind of been merged through since the last time we spoke about it. And then we can maybe pick up where Keith left off on the demo. Just pick the right screen here.
Yeah, I think for today we can I think for today we'll not continue where the demo's at, and we can save that for another baseline show because that'll end up just like encompassing the whole rest of the General Assembly. Instead, we can kind of take from a similar or a different viewpoint on the project. Last time we went through just kind of code. And this time we'll show a little bit of code, but it'll be more through the GitHub point of view. But we'll also go through, like our whole design process, right? So we'll show, where we start out with documentation, how those turn up as issues in GitHub, how those initial proposals turn into, issues that relate to pull requests will be made, and all where the documentation is at. So if you want to start, where are you right now? Are you in pull requests?
These are closed pull requests, yeah.
Let's go to issues. Let's go to closed issues. So we usually start out, for example, right now we're in milestone 3. Actually, let's look at the open ones real quick. So we start out in milestone 3 we're in now, which I believe we showed that in the last baseline meeting. Ogden shared kind of the outline of everything, the milestones as well. So you can find that high level view there. I believe is that in Grant repository?
Yes.
You know that document you shared?
Yeah.
All right. So we look at the okay, good. So if we take a look at the open issues right now, we can see that a lot of these go down below, maybe 587, 574. So a lot of these, you see this prepare proposal on something, right? So whenever we get into a new milestone, or really just a new group of issues we're going to tackle, the first thing we do is we put an issue saying that we're going to prepare the proposal, right? Everybody knows exactly where we're at. And then if you go into one of those proposals, like you can go into, yeah, sure, that one's probably not that one actually, because that one is being covered in security policy. You can hit up workgroup setup or workgroup and policy off, and any of those besides privacy policy, really any of them there. Yeah, and there should be a document linked. So this was by Scocito. Go to his document linked, right? And this will take you to the documentation that he is currently preparing that we are, doing comments on. You can see on the right. So you can just kind of, zoom on through that real quick. Proposal to prepare. If you go back to the proposal, you'll see there are tasks, which are prepare the document, present to team. And then maybe there's some more unique ones, like for this case, is decision made about interfaces. And then the last task is to create the GitHub issues for the actual implementation. So now if we back out and we go back to issues and we go to actually we can still say an open issues really. So in open issues here, we can see some already at the top that are this, like enable core setting expose authentication API by Monique. So this is the next set of issues he's created after the proposal for, authorization. So he made the proposal for authorization. We reviewed his doc, and he's starting to make the actual issues that relate to code implementations, right? So now we can go back into the closed issues. In the closed issues, you'll find from previous milestone 1 and 2 are initial issues to propose documents for whatever we're working on, and the ensuing issues that relate to actually implementations that were made. You'll probably have to go down a while if you're trying to find those original proposal documentation issues as well, but they're certainly in there. And they have the documentation. There you go, actually, right there, down a little bit. You see this prepare a proposal. So that was, looks like milestone 2 work. I have the prepare work group workflow, blah, 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 proposal. And if you go into there, you'll find the documents that relate to those original, let's say, in this case, milestone 2 proposals, right? And then if you go beyond those prepare proposal issues, then we have the actual implementation ones you can look through. Let's go into one of those. Sure, that one's fine. So they have the reference to the documentation, and let's say you're in here and now you want to go and find the pull request this relates to. I believe if you go down, there should be, yeah. So here we see we have some links to things have been open and merged, and you go into that. So here you'll find from that link that's been merged, this was the PR, and here's where we have the code that relates to this. So on the top, we have commits, files changed, so on and so forth. This is the actual issue itself relating to the implementation. It's also linked to the talk. Let's go to files changed. You can go through, depending on how you like to go through the code. If you're a new developer or you're new to GitHub, you can go through commits. I know Ogden loves to go through commit by commit, and that's why I try to make as many commits as I can to make his life more pleasant. And so anyways, I personally just go to the change files and go through one by one and kind of look at what's going on. There are lots of extensions for VS Code and whatnot where you can do this in and find the best way you like to do it. So here we can see the additions and subtractions that were made for, this is just the data storage one for maintaining the PostgreSQL database and its migration among the devs, so that way whenever I pull down the repository, I can use Prisma to just migrate, and all this information will come stock on my computer. Plus you have to take that EMV sample and make your own EMV, and of course if you're not familiar with that, just I don't know, DM me or Yoav somewhere in the baseline Slack and we'll help you out with it. And so this is just an example of how things are going. It's kind of difficult to spend enough time to go through all of the different issues. But if you want to, like I said, go into those closed issues, you can find the proposals with the Google documentation with all of our comments. And then right after it, you'll find the issues that relate to the implementation of that proposal. And then in those, you can scroll down, get the PR links, go straight into the PRs and look at the code. So that's the general flow of things. Is there anything I missed? You all have anybody else, anything you want to see or worth mentioning?
I think we could just give a quick overview of the PRs that have merged in the last 30-ish days, at least the major ones, just to show kind of which components are being put in.
Okay, sure. Yeah, no problem. So if we look, actually, you have that nice place that's all lined up, all the documentation too. We could show that as well.
Yeah, the blip.
Well, we don't have to show it right now, though. We can show that after. So go into the closed issues or PRs, whichever one you want. Yep. So milestone 2 was mostly comprised of setting up all of the generic basic kind of CRUD API thing. Can you go back to PRs?
Yeah, this is the milestone 2, just to show it.
Okay. Yeah, so it's BRI3 CRUD, right? So this is all of the different components of the baseline reference implementation 3, or SRI. It's using the Nest.js inversion of control dependency injection CQRS framework and creating the different modules that will be injected and their corresponding CRUD operations. Like you saw last time, I went over when something's being created kind of in execution time and memory, and then also simultaneously in the database as well. So that's all these things, right? We see here on the screen, we have like feature 485 workgroup unit tests. So that was for mine. That was me separating the pull request into the unit tests. And then right below that is the workgroup CRUD modules. You don't have to go into it. Let's stay on the main page. So we have the workgroup unit tests, and then we have workgroup CRUD models and agents. So that's part of the same issue implementation of the CRUD operations for just work groups in the whole Nest.js flavor. And if you go into those, let's not do it, but if you go into those, then you'll see the code. You can go through the PR and see the code that was in there, right? So if we go down below, we also see we completed the auto mapper, which we went over in the last baseline show as well. The CRUD API for BPI accounts. You can kind of scroll slowly down with me as well. BPI accounts, the messaging component, controller. So you see sometimes most of these components will be broken off into 2 or 3 PRs, is the way that we pull requests into main. We like to do it as succinct as possible. So in this case, Ogden on feature 551 BR3 messaging component controller, I'm sorry, and the one below messaging component model and create. So he created that most little succinct part of the messaging component, the models, and its create a CRUD API, and PR'd it in. And then on top of that went to the next one, and then finished off with unit tests. So we've done work group, we've done workflow, we've done work steps, we've done messaging component, we've done BPI account, we've done subject accounts. If you also go down further, you should find transactions, and you can maybe, okay, subject, yeah, so subject account was the first one, right? BPI subject account, messaging. And then if you go on through, you'll find a lot of the other ones. I believe transactions is another one that we worked on, right? And then if you go back to that main link, you have it open with all of the links in it. I believe you've been composing that, right?
Yeah, so that's just a blip, which is managed in the kind of standard format of our blip. So in the blip repo issues, you'll find SRI BRI3 overview, and then it's kind of, you know, the description and everything. And then each issue has its link here with the name kind of all lined up, so you can track everything going on more easily here.
Yeah, so this is just a really nice place where everything is aggregated. So there's a lot of different ways to find your way to what you're looking for. If you get confused, just join the baseline Slack, hit us up. So the majority of the work, to kind of paraphrase for milestone 2, was the CRUD APIs of all the different components inside the BPI. I've already mentioned them a couple of times now. Milestone 3, if you go to the new issues, you can see what we are working on. Those proposals that we originally looked at when I was describing our kind of ebb and flow within our group. Can you go to the issues list? And scroll down to the prepare proposals. So milestone 3, you can see we're working on authentication, authorization, actually getting messaging up and working, you know, work group invitations, privacy policies, and then of course, security policies and the authorization. And then we also have proposal record history of state changes. Okay, so this is technically a milestone 4 task that's just being done right now, because Shree's working on the ZKP component. And then we have workgroup setup, right? So those, we start off with that set of initial tasks. That's what we're working on now. Once we're done with these, we'll move on and put out a whole nother set of proposal documents of, you know, what's next. Now that we can set up a work group, we can make invitations, we can message, we have authorization, authentication, we'll go back to that original document in milestone 3 and say, is that everything that's in the scope of that? If not, we'll just pile on more issues to complete that milestone. And then once done, we move on to milestone 4 and kind of rinse and repeat. And that's all, folks.
Thank you, Keith. What passion. I'm sure a lot of people are going to benefit out of these onboarding sort of videos for baselining. Thank you both for continuing the walkthrough, and I hope we are able to attract a lot of people. I'm actually going to send these videos, both today's portion and the last week's, to the people I'm going to meet in Vietnam. Thank you. So let's now move on and invite Claudia for a quick update on the TSC elections, because this is the first General Assembly after the election results. Claudia, over to you.
Hi, it's my pleasure to announce the new TSC. We closed the elections on November 3rd at midnight UTC and announced the new TSC members via the official mailing list for the baseline community and the EA project's PGB. So here, most of you here in the call are on the TLC, which is nice. Congratulations to you all, and in alphabetical order, the new TSC members are, and apologies for any mispronunciations: Andreas Freund, Karthik Solipuram, Keith Saltzman, Manik Jain, Mark Haddle, Mehran Shakeri, Arjun Kurtic, Samrat Kishore, Sonal Patel, Stefan Kostic, and Yoav Bitan. Thank you for everyone who stood up for as a candidate and all who participated in the election process. The first TSC meeting will be tomorrow, so we're kicking it off tomorrow.
Let me do something which I tried doing some time back. Let's see if this works this time. Okay. So with that, there is something which I had to say. Of course, a big thanks for everybody who participated in the election, both the nominees as well as the people who voted for them. I'm really grateful to the work being put in, so far, and of course I look forward to continue shaping the next year's roadmap. I think very exciting. The meeting coming up tomorrow. One important thing which I would like to say, in this lot, we are always looking for good and high quality and very industry focused speakers on the Baseline show. So if anybody of you watching us today or in future, you would like to connect us to somebody who can come on the show, talk about data sharing, data synchronization, multi-party workflows, etc., do please connect them to us. You can connect me directly over LinkedIn or via Slack, or all my social handles are out there. Happy to have a chat and send them a formal invitation for a pre-call, sort of sync up, as well as inviting them on the show. So we could, if we start identifying them now, we could schedule with them in January, February. We are sorted for the rest of November and December. So that's it from my side. I would like to now invite Andreas for an update on the standards.
Thank you, Samrat. So standards wise, we have been basically massaging the spec from a pure editorial point of view, waiting for basically SRI, so BRI 3 to finish. So we have the requested 2 implementations, and then also demonstrating interoperability such that we can move the spec forward to a project draft specification in 2023, and then hopefully if we get one more, we can actually move it to a full project specification if we have a third implementation, which we will need in order to complete that journey. so hopefully the BRI3 will help spur more implementations. We are planning a roadshow with that once it's done for next year, in order to get enterprises excited about that. Having said that, we have recently added 3 more editors to the standard. So Keith Salzman, Joaf Betten, and Charles from the EA are now also editors, are actively working on and editing the spec to fix all the little things that were, or sometimes large things that were missed when we pushed it out. Seems that it's not that much, but it is some work. So thank you for those who, to especially Joab and Keith, who have done yeoman's work to read through the spec multiple times, getting their brains twisted, cursing in the process, and making it a lot better. So thank you for that. And that's basically it from the standards group.
I'll add a shout out to Mark as well. He went through it with us too. He just,
that is true. Mark,
the PRs. It was mostly y'all making the PRs.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's
oh,
true.
thanks, guys.
Mark Rimza is also. How could I forget that? It's like, I apologize. Yes, no, it's as always a group effort. So thank you again for all the support, and we're going to move this. We're going to move this forward. Really looking forward to getting a third, getting BRI3 done, getting a third implementation in, and doing an interop fest in 2023, demonstrating utility of the standard.
Awesome.
So, and I nominate Mark Rimson to do all the backlog grooming sessions, since he did such a, bang up job on that one.
Yeah, sure. Fine with me. Happy to do it.
Okay, excellent. And Andreas, why don't you take some more time and walk us through a few of the requirements of the standard, and just like a 101 for people who may be watching us and who want to understand the standard requirements. Could pick up any.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. So the standard has 3 major components. One is the core, the specification for the core. The other one is the specification for the APIs that allow you to interact with a core. And then third are the specifications for the consensus controlled state machine, CCSM, that are acceptable to be used in connection with the standard. So that's really important. You can look at the API and the CCSM specs. There are some interesting things in there where certain projects that are promoting certain chains will curse because they will not be able to be able to be used because the requirements are fairly strict. Which type of CCSMs can be used. As far as the core is concerned, so we basically have a standard spec, a stack, not spec, where we're talking about, what are the requirements around identity management, which is key. Where we are also then talking about how we're orchestrating transactions within the stack, what's required. What are we talking? Then we're talking about the execution framework, which where the rubber hits the road, with workflows managed by work groups and workflows consisting of work steps, and then how this all ties together with the actual state of an agreement between multiple counterparties, and how that state is advanced, and what are the requirements are, especially how that can be achieved under zero knowledge, and there are some interesting requirements around that as well, which if you're an aficionado of zero knowledge proofs, please do read that and try to figure out how ZK snarks or ZK starks or bulletproofs or semaphores fit into this. And then lastly, we have we're talking about storage, right? So what type of storage is acceptable? Both from if and how this should be implemented. And then we're also talking about, because self-respecting stack can do without, is about data, external data, and the trustworthiness of external data. So we're basically about what are the requirements for data oracles if they're not coming out of enterprise systems themselves, or third-party, essentially third-party data. So those are the highlights in terms of the different components of the standard and what we're talking about. So it is fairly extensive. Oh yeah, and then interoperability of course is also there. It's fairly extensive. We have 300 plus requirements, 50 plus should requirements, and I don't know, and forgot the exact number of optional requirements with conditional must requirements attached to that. So it's a fairly extensive read overall, but comprehensive in order to be able to satisfy even the most discerning enterprise.
That's cool. Maybe we could make this a regular feature. We've been talking about it, so we should make it a regular feature on our shows sometime, dedicated just for the standards. Because
yeah, I always said, like, use the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I'll walk through that. Just put that into the agenda as a standing item.
Absolutely, because we need more supporters of the standard, and we need that third implementation, right? So
that third implementation is only come once the second one is done and showcased, and then people are actually gonna take that second implementation and that BRI 3 and then, or BRI 1, and actually modify and use it.
Excellent. So if we are through with with that showcase of the standard, then we could open up the floor for any more questions or any other comments what everybody is working on. We have no more updates on the monthly General Assembly.
I can't really think of anything. Can you, Sonal?
I was just
don't
going to say
think
that
so.
it is turning into the fireside chat of silence again.
No, I think we're good. As we near the holiday seasons, I think we'll have one more General Assembly in December that will be 1 week earlier in lieu of the holiday season and everyone's time to recharge. But I think our updates will be a little scarce until then, and then we can jump into 2023 heads first and start creating some outlined roadmaps for each of the different work groups and have some priorities and goals for the upcoming year.
Absolutely. So I think we are good to wrap up today's show. And yeah, happy holidays to people who are celebrating next week. See you on the other side.
So Samrat, what will the show be next Wednesday?
Sorry, what?
What will the show be around next week?
So, oh yeah, we're going to announce the guest, but we're going to get somebody from from a very large bank in the UK, and we're going to be talking about, he's head of risk management, change management, and multiple things. Ash Mohammed. So we're going to talk a little bit about data sharing and multi-body workflows, etc., and the silos that they see in the banking risk management world. Right? Let's explore how baselining could help. Okay, so that's it from our side. Let's wrap up the November 2022 General Assembly. Thank you everybody who made it to the Baseline Show.
Thank you.